The Danish Deception, Part 9. Okay, so he calls me and he tells me that he's had the worst news that he possibly could have. The IRS has told him that he owes $318,000 in taxes. In addition to that, his dad owes $12 million in taxes. And at this point, I did not have a lot of information about his family money because I've always been the type of person, like, if your parents have money, that means your parents have money. That does not mean you have money. So I didn't even ask details about his parents' finances, but obviously I'm like, if his parents owe $12 million in taxes, they got money. And he said that the person that was doing his taxes for years and years and also doing his dad's taxes was one of his childhood friends that owns an accounting firm. And he's like, we've been paying a lot of money in taxes over the years, so someone must be committing some sort of fraud at this point. And so I'm obviously freaking out. This is a lot of money that he owes. So he said, you know what, I'm going to use the rest of the proceeds from selling my home. And in addition to that, he told me at this point he owns 3 different watches. He owns 2 Rolexes and a Patek watch, which if you're not a watch person, these are very expensive watches. And so a couple hours go by. He's like, I sold my Patek watch, and like he said, he sold it at a loss. He just needed to get the money. He said he's short about $30K. And so he tells me that he's going to reach out to his parents, and his parents are like, we don't care. Like, this is not our problem. This is your problem. Figure it out. And he starts to just like, continue spiraling. And so he tells me he's going to reach out to 2 of his childhood friends, one of which he was with this friend whenever we met in Croatia. So I knew they've been friends for a while, and then another childhood friend. And he told me, I've helped out these friends so much in the past, and it's almost like he was communicating to me that he was owed this money from them. I've never asked friends for money before, so this is like not anything that I'm comfortable with, but I was like, hey, if you feel comfortable doing this, go for it. I had not offered him a cent. So he comes back, says he's going to get $10,000 from one friend and then $5,000 from another friend. And I was like, that's so nice of them. He's like, I've honestly helped them so much in the past that I'm grateful that they're helping me when I'm in need. And so at this point, he's short $15,000. And so he just comes right out and asks me, like, can I borrow it? And I did not say yes right away. I said, listen, I have to pay my taxes too, because I was working at an accounting firm. Obviously that's W-2 income, but I was also doing real estate, and I did very well the year before. So I owed a pretty penny in taxes, and it's March of 2023. So my taxes are coming up pretty soon. And so I told him, I'm like, I'm not comfortable giving you this money because, I have to pay taxes too. And now my savings is really starting to I'm starting to feel the financial impact, and it's starting to stress me out. And he said, I hired a law firm. They've already looked into my tax records. They've already found indicators of fraud. I think I'm going to be able to get this turned around really quickly. And my biggest worry and concern is that if I don't pay this tax bill, it's going to affect my chances of getting a green card. And that's when I start to panic. And now I realize that I was just in a very toxic cycle of emotional manipulation. But after some time, he talks me into loaning him the $15,000. And I remember I only could send him $3K at a time. And so I remember it was over the course of 5 days. And every day he'd be like, hey, don't forget to send the payment. And everything about this felt so wrong in my soul, but I did it anyways. And this was not something that I kept quiet about. I told my parents, I told my siblings, my ex got this crazy tax bill, and they were all aware that we were going through this financial hiccup, and I didn't want to be presented as these people with money. So I was very upfront and honest about it. And you can ask a lot of my friends, I told a lot of my close people about this situation. And quick side note, I did not tell them that I was loaning him money. I just told them that he owed a lot of money, and I told them about the overall situation. But at this point, no one knows that I have given him any money. So I ended up giving him the money. He's so grateful. He's like, thank you so much for helping me out. And so about 5 days later, he flies to Dallas to come and visit. And my parents came to visit maybe a couple of days after he came. And at this point, he's staying in the living room, not in the bed with me, but he could not go to a hotel because we're trying to be mindful with spending. So my parents definitely started to bond with my ex a lot more over this trip. I remember my dad brought him this Nigerian Igbo cane that my ex had been admiring, that my dad had one. He surprised him, brought him one from Nigeria. And he actually took my dad out and asked him for my hand in marriage, even though we were already married. And my dad said yes. And my dad also broke coconut in front of the family and like welcomed my ex into the family. It's just, I mean, it was really special. Obviously, we were dealing with a lot of financial stress, but I want you all to know that like I was happy a majority of the time, regardless of the stress I was going through, which is just insane to understand. But after a week, we ended up going to Cabo for one of my childhood friends' wedding. And I had paid for the portion of the wedding already because I had been planning on going by myself. And then obviously I got into a relationship, so I just had to pay like a little extra to add someone to the reservation. But we decided to go a couple days early and celebrate like our honeymoon. And so basically our flight comes and he's staying in the living room. My parents are sleeping in the guest bedroom. And I wake up and I get a text from him and he says, "Hey, can you come downstairs real quick?" And I said, "Of course." So I go downstairs. I'm like, "What's up?" He said, one of my friends, the friend that he had received $5,000 from for the tax bill, reached out to me and said he's freaking out because his wife really wants to buy this house and he's short a certain amount of money to purchase this home. And obviously he was like, "I feel so bad because he loaned it to me because he was trying to help me out." And my biggest strength and weakness is empathy. And when I saw him hurting because his friend was not able to do something because of the money he had loaned my ex, and at this point I felt like the friend had loaned us the money. It wasn't like he loaned my ex the money because we were married. And so I do something so stupid and idiotic. I end up loaning him an additional $3,000 not even a week after I had already given him $15,000. So I actually ended up giving him $18,000 in the month of March of 2023. Yes, I'm sick to my stomach. So I can send him the money. We end up going to the airport, fly to Cabo. We have an amazing trip. And at this point, I had just hard launched him on my Instagram Valentine's Day prior. So at this point, I hard launched him after we were already married. And we were in Cabo and I'm like posting more photos of him on my social media. And I'm going through my Instagram story views and I'm looking at the names and I'm seeing all of these Danish names. And I can tell they're Danish names because there's a different Danish alphabet. And so I'm clicking some of the profiles and a lot of them you can see like my ex is like the mutual, like follows them. And so I brought it up to him like, "Hey, all these Danish people are watching my story, but I thought it was weird that no one was like following me." I'm like, "These are your friends." Like, and I wanted him to maintain the same friendships in Denmark, even though he was moving to the States, because I never want to be the type of person that takes a man away from like his friends and family. And so I remember I'm clicking profiles and I click a girl's profile and I look at the first picture and I see my ex's dog. And that's something that I actually haven't mentioned. My ex did have a dog, and every time he came to visit, he had a friend that was watching the dog. And whenever he sold his place and decided that he was going to spend more time in Dallas, his dog ended up getting adopted by some people because he's like, "I just am not home enough." And at first I told him like, "Bring the dog to Dallas." Like I wanted the dog to come. And he's like, "No, it's fine. Like that does not make sense to do." And I supported his decision. And he told me that the ex could not take the dog because she was in med school and was constantly out of the home and she just did not have the capacity to take care of the dog. But I see his dog and it's like a duck-toller retriever. I think duck-tolling retriever. I think that's how you say it. I saw his dog as a puppy on this girl's profile and I clicked the tag and my ex is tagged. And so I look at him, I go, "Is this your ex-girlfriend?" He was like, "Oh yeah, it is." I was like, "Oh, so she's watching my stories." He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, that's a little weird." And I remember checking like throughout the course of like every day for like a week and like all these Danish people are still watching my story every day. And I'm like, "Don't you think this is weird that there's like 15 Danish people watching my story every day?" And he was like, "Honestly, I just feel like they're a little bit salty that I like moved on. I'm moving to America. Like I think they might be a little salty." And he said, "You should just block them all. Like I'm not gonna lie, this is like a very toxic group of people." And so I was like, "Is that what you want me to do?" He said, "Yeah, just block them all. Like they're not here for the right reasons. They're just looking to like creep and they're probably just talking a bunch of shit." So I said, "Okay." And I decided to block them all. And so basically we come back from Cabo, he stays for about a month and then he goes back to Denmark. And at this point he had come to visit me so many times. And so I decided, now's my time to go spend time with him in Europe. And with his dad's health and his work, it made sense for me to just, go out of my way to try to spend time with him, and I could work remote at the time. And so I board a flight and I head to Denmark for the first time, and I land in Denmark, and I will continue on in part 10.